leaving the grateful King Phineus behind. A new kind of dread settles over the Argo. It's one thing to face a monster you can fight. It's another thing entirely to face a force of nature, a geological death trap that doesn't have a weak spot you can stab. The crew is quiet, each man lost in his own thoughts, picturing what it would be like to be ground to splinters between two living mountains of stone. You can feel the fear of your crew, a heavy, metallic taste in the air. This is a leadership moment. You steady your voice and call for Euphemus, the fastest man in your crew, to ready the dove, just as Phineus instructed. This is the moment a mainstream mythological fact gets cemented. The legendary strength of the Argonauts. You see the muscles in your crewmates' backs straining, their faces contorted with effort. Tiphys wrestles with the steering oars, keeping the ship dead center in the violent current. Just as you are about to clear the passage, the rocks begin to move again, closing in for the kill. You are not going to make it. But remember your divine patron. Hera, watching from on high, gives the ship a little supernatural shove from behind. Athena steadies the prow. This divine intervention gives you the extra burst of speed you need. The rocks slam shut behind you, the force of their collision creating a massive wave that propels the Argo forward into the calm waters of the Black Sea. They only manage to clip the very stern of the ship, snapping off a small ornament, an obscure tidbit. According to the myth, once the Argo successfully passed through, the Symplegades were frozen in place, forever locked open, their divine purpose fulfilled. You were the final test. You look back at the now stationary rocks and then at your crew, who are slumped over their oars, gasping for air, but alive. You've done it. You have entered the Black Sea, the Euxine Sea, as the Greeks called it. You have passed the final gatekeeper. Now, all that's left is to find a fleece, guarded by a dragon, in a hostile kingdom at the edge of the known world. The easy part is over. Orpheus abandons his gentle melodies and strikes up a thunderous, powerful rhythm on his lyre. Heracles may be gone, but the remaining heroes pull with the strength of 10 men each. The Argo surges forward like a spear thrown by a god. The rocks are receding, opening the path. You're halfway through. The ship groans, the water boils around you. He holds the small, trembling bird in his hands, its little heart beating a frantic rhythm against his palm. It's a fragile, living key to your passage. Tiphys, your helmsman, grips the steering oars, his knuckles white. The fate of the entire expedition rests on his skill, your command, and Phineus's cryptic advice. Soon enough, you hear it. A low, grinding rumble that vibrates through the hull of the ship, a sound that seems to come from the very bones of the earth. Then you see them. They're colossal, dark, and slick, with sea foam looming on either side of a narrow channel. It flies straight and true, heading directly for the gap. The Argonauts hold their breath, oars frozen mid-air. For a heart-stopping second, the rocks hang open, as if watching the bird. Then, with terrifying speed, they slam together. A thunderous crack echoes across the water. You see a puff of white, not the bird, but its tail feathers, sheared clean off, as the dove just barely makes it through to the other side, shaken but alive. A cheer erupts from the crew. It's possible. It's not a guarantee, but it's a chance. They drift apart slowly, ominously, revealing a passage of churning, angry water, before crashing back together with a deafening boom that sends a spray of seawater hundreds of feet into the air. The timing is irregular, chaotic. There's no discernible pattern. It's a divine-level game of red light, green light, and getting it wrong means instant oblivion. You give the order to hold the ship back, just out of range of the deadly spray. The air is thick with tension. You command. Euphemus opens his hands, and the dove shoots forward, a tiny speck of white, against the dark, menacing rocks. You scream, your voice raw, row for your lives, and they do. You can see the dark, wet rock faces towering over you, so close you could touch them. Imagine you've ever been robbed of your birthright by the one person who should have protected you. Your own family. In the ancient kingdom of Iolcus, a ruthless king named Peleus sits on a stolen throne, his power built on a foundation of betrayal. But his paranoia grows, fueled by a chilling prophecy of a man with a single sandal who will be his undoing. Will this one-sandaled man reclaim what's his? Hit like if you're ready for an epic quest, and let me know in the comments. The worst family drama you've ever heard of. Now, let yourself sink into that stolen throne for a moment. Feel the cool, unforgiving stone beneath you. You are Peleus, king of Iolcus, and every shadow in the corner of your eye looks like a threat. You didn't earn this seat through glorious battle, or popular demand. You took it. You pushed aside your own half-brother Ezin, the rightful king, and locked him away. This whole kingdom runs on your ambition and your deep, gnawing insecurity. It's a classic corporate takeover, ancient Greek style, complete with less paperwork and significantly more backstabbing. When Eson's son, Jason, was born, you knew he was a loose end. A rightful heir is a dangerous thing to have around when you're a usurper. So Jason's parents, fearing for his life, staged a mock funeral, weeping over a stillborn child that never existed. While the real baby was smuggled out of the city under the cover of darkness, he was sent to be raised by the best tutor a demigod could ask for, the wise centaur Chiron, who ran a sort of boarding school for future legends. Think of it as a mythical Hogwarts, where the curriculum included archery, philosophy, and how to not get eaten by a hydra. Years passed, and your reign is fine, but the guilt, or maybe just the fear of getting caught, never leaves you. So you do what any paranoid tyrant does. You take a road trip to the oracle at Delphi to get some divine reassurance. But the oracle doesn't offer comfort. Instead, the priestess, in a haze of sacred fumes, gives you a warning that will echo in your mind for decades. Beware the man who comes to you wearing but a single sandal. From that day on, you become obsessed. You post guards, you eye every citizen's footwear. It's like you've instituted a kingdom-wide shoe policy, a TSA pre-check. But just for sandals? Meanwhile, Jason grows up strong and noble, completely unaware of your little prophecy. He decides it's time to return to Iolcus and claim his birthright. On his way, he reaches a flooding river, impossible to cross. On the bank, a frail old woman begs for help. Jason, being the hero of our story, doesn't hesitate. He hoists her onto his broad shoulders and wades into the churning, muddy water. What he doesn't know is that this isn't just any old woman. It's the goddess Hera in disguise. This is our first major divine intervention. See, Hera has a long-standing grudge against you, Peleus, because you never bothered to give her proper sacrifices. A classic blunder. By helping her, Jason has just made the most powerful and notoriously vengeful goddess in the pantheon, his personal fairy godmother. As he struggles to the far bank, the thick, sucking mud pulls one of his sandals right off his foot. He doesn't have time to look for it. He has a kingdom to reclaim. He arrives in the central square of Iolcus, a striking figure, a crowd gathering around him, and one foot conspicuously bare, a look that says, I can lead a kingdom, but I can't keep my shoes on. Word reaches your palace, and when you see him, a cold dread washes over you. He's here, the man from the prophecy, and you, King Peleus, have to figure out what to do next. You stand there, heart hammering against your ribs, but your face is a mask of kingly composure. This is it. The moment you've dreaded for 2 decades. The one-sandaled man is in your court, looking you dead in the eye, and he has the unmistakable look of your brother, Hassan. He is youth. He is legitimacy. He is everything. You are not. You can't kill him here, not in front of the whole city. That would be a PR nightmare, and would likely start a civil war. No, you have to be clever. You have to play the part of the gracious, benevolent ruler. This requires a different kind of violency, the political kind. You invite him forward, a warm, false smile plastered on your face. My dear boy, you begin, your voice booming with forced hospitality. You are Eson's son. Welcome home. Jason, bless his earnest heart, walks right into the trap. He declares his lineage and his claim to the throne of Iolcus. The crowd murmurs, sensing the tension. You have to think fast. You need to send him somewhere so far away, on a mission so impossibly dangerous, that he'll never come back. This can't look like an assassination. It has to look like a glorious opportunity. And then, it hits you, a ghost story, a national disgrace, a quest. You raise a hand for silence and begin to spin your tale. You speak of a restless spirit, Phrixus, a cousin of yours who fled Greece long ago. You tell the people how he was carried away on the back of a miraculous flying ram with a fleece of pure gold, a gift from the gods themselves. You conveniently leave out the part where his stepmother was trying to have him executed. The ram carried Phrixus and his sister, Hel, across the sea. But poor Hel, she lost her grip and tumbled into the water below, giving that strait its name to this day. Phrixus made it all the way to Colchis, a barbarian kingdom at the very edge of the world. There, in gratitude, he sacrificed the ram to Ares, the god of war, and hung its incredible golden fleece on an oak tree in a sacred grove. Now you lower your voice, letting the drama build, But his ghost is not at rest. You lie, putting a hand to your heart. It haunts my dreams, begging for a proper Greek burial. And the fleece, that magnificent symbol of our people's favor with the gods, it remains in a foreign land. You paint a picture of this fleece, not just as a treasure, but as the spiritual heart of the kingdom, the ultimate luxury good, a divine artifact that needs to be brought home. Scholars still argue whether the myth of the Golden Fleece represents a historical Greek expedition to the Black Sea in search of actual gold, or if it's a purely symbolic story about heroism and the quest for immortality. But for your purposes, it's a very real, very shiny, and very deadly tourist trap. You turn to Jason, your eyes gleaming with manufactured hope. The task is too great for an old man like me, you say, with a weary sigh. But you are young, strong, a true hero. If you were to retrieve the Golden Fleece, you would prove to the gods and to all of Greece that you are worthy of this throne. Bring it home, Jason, and the kingdom is yours. You conveniently fail to mention the small print. The fleece is nailed to a tree in a grove sacred to the god of war, and it's guarded by a serpent, a draken that never, ever sleeps. It's not a quest. It's a divinely sanctioned suicide mission. And Jason, full of pride and the fire of youth, accepts. He sees a path to glory. You see a problem, beautifully solved. So, you've been handed your impossible mission. The crowd cheers, Peleus gives you a smug little pat on the back, and you're left standing there with the weight of this insane quest on your shoulders. It's long, sleek, and faster than any vessel that has ever cut through the Aegean Sea, but it has a secret weapon, and boy, do you get responses. It seems every hero, demigod, and king with an ounce of ambition wants a piece of this glory. Your crew, who will become known as the is less of a ship's company and more of a floating super team, the original Avengers of the ancient world. One is a master horseman, the other an unbeatable boxer, a collection of the greatest, strongest, and most talented men in all of Greece. It's an overwhelming display of raw power and potential. Scholars still argue whether this roster was a later invention, a greatest hits album of Greek mythology retroactively added to the story to boost its prestige. But here and now, they are your crew, a ship full of alpha males, demigods, and one very stressed out captain. As the Argo is finally pushed into the sea, you can't help but wonder, what could possibly go wrong? They are the sons of Zeus and are so famous they will eventually be placed in the stars as the constellation Gemini. You get Zeus and Calais, the winged sons of the North Wind, who can fly. They are your aerial reconnaissance unit. Peleus, the future father of Achilles, signs on, eager to make a name for himself. So does Teleman, who will one day father the mighty Ajax. It's a who's who of heroic daddies. The ship's own builder Argus comes along, presumably to handle any warranty claims. And you need a pilot, a designated driver for this whole chaotic enterprise. And you get the best. The helmsman Tiphys, whose steady hand will guide the Argo through treacherous waters. For the prow of the ship, Athena herself fits a beam of wood cut from the sacred, prophetic oaks of her father, Zeus, at his sanctuary in Dodona. This isn't just lumber. It's a talking, magical GPS that can speak and offer guidance in times of dire need. This is our obscure tidbit, the first ever on-board computer, and it runs on divine magic. First things first, you can exactly sail to the edge of the world in a fishing boat. You need a ship, but not just any ship. You need the greatest ship ever built. You commission a master craftsman named Argus, and with a little divine intervention from your patron goddess Hera and a helping hand from Athena, the goddess of wisdom and craft, construction begins. The result is a masterpiece, a 50-odd marvel of celestial engineering called the Argo, named after its builder. Now you have the ship, you just need a crew. So you send out a call, the ancient Greek equivalent of a Heroes Wanted ad on LinkedIn. The first to sign up is of course Hera, the biggest name in the hero business. Having him on board is a massive PR win. But it's also like having a live stick of dynamite in the middle of your ship. He's unbelievably strong, but his temper is famously short. He's your heavy hitter, your Hulk, and you just have to hope he doesn't smash the wrong thing. Then comes Orpheus, the legendary musician. He's your support class. While Heracles solves problems with his fists, Orpheus solves them with his lyre. His music is so enchanting, it can make rocks weep and trees dance. His job is to keep morale high and, more importantly, to soothe the savage beasts and the savage egos you'll inevitably encounter. The applications keep rolling in. You get the twins, Castor and Pollux, also known as the You stand on the shore, watching them all arrive. The cheers from the shore of Iolcus fade behind you as the Argo cuts through the waves. The air is electric with a sense of purpose. Orpheus plucks a steady, driving rhythm on his lyre, and 50 oars dip and rise, in perfect, powerful synchronicity. The entire island seems to be populated exclusively by women. These women, led by their queen, Hypsipyle, welcome you with open arms. He stayed behind to guard the ship, grumbling about the lack of focus. This is where the first real tragedy strikes. Heracles' squire, a handsome youth named Hylas, whom he loved dearly, takes a pitcher and goes inland to find a spring. He finds a tranquil pool, shimmering in the afternoon light, and kneels to fill his vessel. A mainstream mythological fact for you. Greek springs were often inhabited by water nymphs, or naiads. When they see the beautiful Hylas, whose good looks were apparently a danger to himself and others, they are instantly captivated. They reach up with slender, pale arms, wrap their fingers around his, and pull him down into the cool depths of the spring to be their immortal companion. He is never seen again. Finally, he has enough. He stomps into the main city, finds his comrades drowning in comfort, and gives them the world's most intimidating motivational speech. You and the other Argonauts call for him, but he doesn't answer. A fierce debate breaks out. Should you wait? Should you leave your greatest warrior behind? The wind is picking up, perfect for sailing. It's here that scholars still argue whether Heracles was deliberately written out of the story. His presence makes every challenge too easy. Why would you need to be clever when you have a demigod who can just punch the problem until it goes away? Some versions of the tale solve this with an obscure tidbit. The sea-god Glaucus rises from the waves, and tells you that it is Zeus's will for Heracles to leave the quest to fulfill his own destiny with his famous labors. It's a divine hall pass. With heavy hearts, you give the order. You raise the sail and leave Heracles behind, his desperate cries for Hylas echoing over the water. Your crew is smaller now. Your greatest champion gone. The quest just got infinitely harder. He shames them, reminding them of the glory they swore to achieve, the oath they took. He basically calls them out for choosing a life of domestic bliss over legendary status. Reluctantly, guiltily, the Argonauts drag themselves away from their newfound families and back to the Ark. You say your goodbyes, leaving a new generation of future heroes behind, and set sail once more, the mission back on track. They are beautiful, they are gracious, and they are very, very happy to see you. You soon learn why. A few years back, the women of Lemnos had neglected their worship of Aphrodite, and the goddess of love, in a fit of pique, cursed them with a truly horrific body odor. It was so bad that their husbands abandoned them for captive women from the mainland. So, the women of Lemnos did the only logical thing. They murdered every single man on the island. A bit of an overreaction, maybe, but you have to admire the commitment. This is it. The great adventure has begun. You look around at the faces of your crew, the best and brightest of a generation, and feel a surge of confidence. When you and your crew of 50 strapping heroes arrive, it's like a divine delivery service has just dropped off the perfect solution to their problem. They invite you into their homes. They feast you. They treat you like kings. And the Argonauts, after a long time at sea, are more than happy to oblige. The quest is all but forgotten. The Golden Fleece can wait. You yourself get cozy with Queen Hypsipyle, and for a while, you consider just staying. Why risk your life fighting monsters when you can settle down as the new king of a lovely island? It's the hero's equivalent of cashing out your startup stock and moving to a tropical paradise. With this team, how could you possibly fail? The first leg of your journey takes you to the island of Lemnos, and this is where things get weird. As you approach, you notice a strange silence. There are no men on the docks, no fishermen in the bay. The curse has since lifted, and now they are left alone, running an entire society without men. But one hero isn't playing along. Heracles. The mood is somber now. You sail onward, stopping in a land of friendly giants before reaching Medea to take on fresh water. Heracles is destroyed by the loss. He crashes through the woods, roaring Hylas's name, his grief turning him into a force of pure, uncontrolled agony. The loss of Heracles hangs over the Argo like a shroud. The energy is gone, replaced by a grim resolve. Your crew rows in silence, the rhythmic creak of the oars, the only sound besides the waves. You've lost your invincible weapon, and the reality of your vulnerability is starting to sink in. Your journey continues, pushing you deeper into unknown waters, until you arrive at the shores of Samodessus and Thrace. This is the kingdom of King Phineus, and you can tell something is very wrong before you even tie up the ship. The land feels cursed, a palpable aura of despair hanging in the air. You find Phineas himself, and he's a pitiable sight. He's ancient and skeletal, practically wasting away on his throne. But it's not age or sickness that's killing him. It's a divine curse. Phineas was a seer, a prophet gifted by the god Apollo with the ability to see the future. The problem is, he was a little too good at his job. He shared so many of the god's secrets with mortals, mapping out the future with such precision, that he angered Zeus. Remember our little chat about not angering the gods? Phineas made the classic mistake. As punishment, Zeus blinded him, and placed him on an island with a magnificent feast laid out before him every single day. The ultimate torture of Tantalus. Just as he would reach for a piece of bread or a sip of wine, the Harpies' ferocious bird-like women with razor-sharp talons, and a stench that could make a statue Gagood swoop down from the sky. They would snatch the food from his hands and foul whatever was left with their disgusting droppings. He was starving to death in a land of plenty. Phineas knows who you are. He's a seer, after all. He knows about your quest for the Golden Fleece, and more importantly, he knows the path you must take to get there. He holds the key to your survival. He promises to tell you everything you need to know, but only if you can free him from his torment. This is a job for your winged crewmate Sets in Calais. As the next feast is laid out, the Harpies descend as predicted. But this time, the two sons of the North Wind are waiting. They draw their swords, spread their magnificent wings, and launch into the air. They chase the shrieking creatures across the sky, a dizzying aerial dogfight. This is where we find a fascinating, obscure tidbit. In most versions of the story, Zeus and Calais are about to kill the Harpies when Iris, the messenger of the gods, swoops in and stops them. She promises on behalf of Hera that the Harpies will never bother Phineas again if the heroes spare their lives, because the Harpies are, surprisingly, the hounds of Zeus, divine agents of punishment who can't be killed without angering the big guy. It's another classic case of divine bureaucracy. The winged brothers agree, turning back to the palace, having successfully negotiated a celestial peace treaty. True to his word, the now liberated Phineas, overjoyed to finally eat a clean meal, sits you down and becomes your personal oracle. He maps out the rest of your voyage. He warns you of the dangers ahead, describing each island, each monster, each treacherous current. But his most vital piece of advice concerns your next great obstacle: the Symplegades, the clashing rocks. Scholars still argue whether the Symplegades were a mythological representation of the treacherous, shifting currents of the Bosphorus Strait, or just a fantastic tale of killer rocks. Phineas tells you that these two massive, living cliffs guard the entrance to the Black Sea, constantly smashing together, crushing anything that dares to pass between them. There is, he says, only one way to know if you can make it through. When you reach the rocks, he advises, his blind eyes seeming to see your fate, you must first release a dove. If the dove makes it through, row with all your might, for you will have a chance. But if the rocks crush the dove, turn back and abandon your quest, for it is not your destiny to succeed. You now have your instructions. Your next challenge is set, and it's a test of timing, courage, and the life of one small bird. After the terror of the clashing rocks, the rest of the journey across the Black Sea feels almost unnervingly calm. You sail along the coast, the morale of the crew slowly recovering. You, along with a small party of your most kingly-looking heroes, make your way to the palace of King Ates. The palace is a formidable bronze fortress, a testament to the wealth and power of this kingdom. The goddess Hera, your ever-present guardian angel, decides it's time for a more subtle intervention. She zips up to Mount Olympus and has a little chat with Aphrodite, the goddess of love. They decide that brute force isn't going to work here. You need an inside woman, and they know just the person: Medea, the younger daughter of King Ates. She is a priestess of the goddess Hecate, and more importantly, she is a sorceress of immense power. A mainstream mythological fact. Medea is one of the most powerful magic users in all of Greek mythology, her name becoming synonymous with dark and potent witchcraft. King Ates himself is even more imposing. He's a son of the sun god Helios, which gives him a certain terrifying, radiant authority. He flies down to Colchis, invisible to all, finds Medea watching the strange Greek visitors from a balcony, and shoots her with one of his golden-tipped arrows. You don't know it yet, but the key to your success isn't your strength, or your ship, or your heroic companions. It's the magically induced love of a teenage sorceress. you've never even spoken to. Scholars still argue whether Medea's love was purely the result of divine meddling, or if Eros simply awakened a pre-existing fascination with a handsome, exotic hero from a distant land. But the effect is the same. As you walk out of the throne room, reeling from the impossible task Ates has set for you, Medea is already plotting, her mind racing with spells and potions. Your quest for the fleece has just become a love story. A very, very complicated and dangerous love story. The moment the arrow strikes, Medea's world tilts on its axis. She looks at you, Jason, and is filled with an overwhelming, all-consuming love. It's not a gentle crush. It's a divine, magical obsession that overrides all her loyalty to her father and her country. She sees you, and she knows, with absolute certainty, that she will do anything to help you, anything to save you, anything to be with you. He is not happy to see you. He greets you with suspicion and barely concealed contempt. Foreigners, in his experience, are either thieves or spies. You've faced down the wrath of women, monsters, and geology itself. You feel like you can handle anything. Finally, after a long and weary voyage, you see it on the horizon. As you get closer, you see a city that is both impressive and intimidating. It doesn't look like any Greek city you've ever seen. The architecture is foreign, the people are watchful, and the air itself seems to crackle with an ancient, powerful magic. This is not friendly territory. You anchor the Argo in the mouth of the river Phasis, and decide on a diplomatic approach first. You stand before his throne and make your case. You tell him of your quest, of Peleus's command, of your long and perilous journey. You ask, as politely as you can, for the golden fleece. Ates listens, a cruel smile playing on his lips. He looks at you and your companions and sees a bunch of arrogant, overconfident Greeks who have sailed a long way to die. He has no intention of just handing over his kingdom's most prized possession, a symbol of his divine favor and power. He laughs in your face. But, like Peleus, he can't just murder you in his throne room. Hospitality rules, even for barbarian kings. So, he decides to follow the same playbook. He will give you an opportunity to prove your worth, an impossible, deadly trial that no mortal could ever hope to survive. Just as this tense negotiation is unfolding, something else is happening in the palace. Aphrodite sends her son, Eros, the mischievous little god of desire, on a mission. This is the turning point of your entire quest. You return to the Argo, the weight of King Ates' challenge pressing down on you. The crew listens in stony silence as you outline the trial. It's not one task, but a series of them, designed to be utterly impossible. First, you must yoke a pair of kokotoroi, two enormous, fire-breathing bulls, with bronze hooves, forged in the furnaces of the god Hephaestus. Then, you have to use these demonic beasts to plow a vast field sacred to the war god Ares. After that, you must sow the field not with seeds, but with dragon's teeth. And finally, from those teeth will spring a fully armed and hostile army of warriors, the Sparti whom you must defeat, alone. The Argonauts look at you, their faces grim. Even the bravest among them can see this for what it is. A death sentence. They offer to help, to fight beside you. But Ates was clear. You must do it alone. That night, despair begins to creep into your heart. You see no way out. But then, under the cover of darkness, a messenger arrives, summoning you to a secret meeting at the shrine of Hecate. There, cloaked in shadow, is Medea. Her eyes burn with an intensity that is both thrilling and unnerving. She confesses her love for you, a torrent of emotion that leaves you stunned. She then offers you a deal. She will use her magic to help you survive the trials. In exchange, you must swear an unbreakable oath to take her with you, back to Greece, and make her your wife. For you, it's a no-brainer. Immortality, and a kingdom, or certain death. You swear the oath without hesitation, promising her eternal devotion. Medea then gives you a small clay pot. Inside is a magical ointment, a salve she created from a plant that sprang from the blood of the tortured titan, Prometheus. This is our obscure tidbit. The Promethean flower, or colchicum, was said to grant temporary invulnerability. She tells you to spread it all over your body and your weapons. For one full day, it will make you impervious to fire and unstoppable by any blade. It's cheat codes, delivered by a sorceress in love. The next day, you walk onto the field of Ares with a confidence that infuriates King Ates, who is watching from a royal platform. The great bronze bulls are released from their stable, and they charge at you, streams of searing flame billowing from their nostrils. The crowd gasps, expecting you to be incinerated, but the fire washes over your protected skin, harmlessly. You stride through the flames, grab the bulls by their horns, and with a surge of divinely augmented strength, you wrestle them into submission, forcing the heavy yoke onto their necks. The crowd is silent, stunned. You then guide the fire-breathing beasts across the field, plowing perfect, straight furrows in the sacred earth. Once the field is plowed, you take the bag of dragon's teeth, a mainstream mythological fact for you. These are the very same type of teeth that Cadmus, the founder of Thebes, used to grow his own instant army. You walk the furrows, sowing the deadly seeds. Almost immediately, the ground begins to churn. From the earth emerge skeletal hands gripping swords, then helmets, then entire warriors clad in armor, their empty eye sockets fixed on you. An army of the earth, the Sparta rises and advances. You are 1 man against 100. But Medea had given you one last piece of advice. They are fierce, but not smart, she had whispered. Throw a stone into their midst. You remember her words, pick up a heavy rock, and hurl it into the center of the advancing army. The Spartoi, born of chaos, immediately turn on each other, each warrior believing another had thrown the stone. They begin fighting amongst themselves with a mindless, furious rage. It's a battle royale of bone. As they hack each other to pieces, you walk through the chaos, calmly dispatching any who remain standing. In a matter of minutes, the entire army lies shattered on the field you just plowed. You stand alone, unharmed, victorious. The crowd is speechless. King Ates stares at you, his face a mask of pure, murderous fury. You have passed his impossible test, but he can see the hand of magic at play, and he knows, with dawning horror, that his own daughter has betrayed him. You stand victorious on the field of Ares, but, this is far from over. The look on King Ates's face is not one of grudging respect. It's one of homicidal rage. He knows you cheated, and he suspects Medea's betrayal. He's not going to just hand over the fleece. He is going to stall you until he can gather his army and slaughter every last one of you. That night, Medea comes to you in a panic. We have to go now. She urges, her eyes wide with fear. My father will kill us all by morning. We must get the fleece tonight and flee. There's no time to waste. You, Medea, and a few of your quietest heroes sneak away from the Argo and make your way to the sacred grove of Ares. The air in the grove is heavy and still, thick with ancient power. And there, in the center, you see it, the golden fleece. It's more magnificent than any story could describe, glowing with its own soft, internal light, shimmering on the branch of an ancient oak tree. It illuminates the entire grove, casting long, dancing shadows. But the stories were true about its guardian, too. Coiled at the base of the tree is the Draken, a serpent of immense size, its scales iridescent even in the dim light. Its eyes, which famously never close, are fixed on you. A low hiss, like the sound of 1,000 knives being sharpened, fills the air. This isn't a beast you can fight. One touch from its venomous fangs would mean instant death. But this is Medea's domain. She steps forward, chanting softly in a language you don't understand, a hypnotic, lulling incantation to the primeval powers of night and sleep. She sprinkles a magical potion of her own creation into the serpent's eyes, a powerful herbal sedative. This is our obscure tidbit. Some later Roman accounts, trying to make Jason seem more heroic, claim he fought and killed the dragon, but in the oldest versions of the myth, it is purely Medea's magic that wins the day. Jason is merely a spectator to her power. The great Draken's head begins to droop. Its massive coils. For the first time in centuries, the guardian of the golden fleece falls into a deep, magical slumber. You don't hesitate. You scramble up the tree, your hands trembling as you unnail the fleece from the oak. It's heavier than you expected, a cascade of pure, divine gold. You wrap it up and race back to the Argo with Medea, the prize finally in your hands. But as you set sail under the cloak of darkness, you see the lights of Chalcis coming alive. Ates has discovered your escape. His fleet of ships, faster and more numerous than you could have imagined, is in hot pursuit. They are gaining on you. Medea, standing at the stern, sees that her father's flagship is leading the chase, with her younger brother Apsyrtus on board. What happens next is one of the most brutal and shocking acts in all of Greek mythology. Medea, in a moment of cold, pragmatic horror, kills her own brother. In the most common version of the tale, she cuts his body into pieces and throws them into the sea. King Ates, horrified, is forced to stop his pursuit to collect the scattered remains of his son for a proper burial. Scholars still argue whether this gruesome act was part of the original myth, or added later to vilify Medea and justify Jason's eventual abandonment of her. Either way, it works. The Colchian fleet falls back, and you escape. But your victory is now stained with the blood of an innocent, a grim down payment on the price of the fleece. Your journey home is no less perilous. You're blown off course, forced to navigate through new dangers, including a close call with the sirens, whose deadly song is countered only by the more beautiful music of Orpheus. Finally, you reach Crete, home of the last remnant of the Bronze Age Talos, a giant man made entirely of bronze. He was a gift from Zeus to King Minos to protect the island. He circles Crete 3 times a day, hurling massive boulders at any ship that dares to approach. As you try to land, he begins his barrage. Once again, Medea's magic is your only hope. She notices that Talos has a single vein running from his head to his heel, plugged by a single bronze nail. This is his one vulnerability, a mainstream mythological fact. Medea either drives him mad with illusions until he stumbles and dislodges the nail himself, or she uses her telekinesis to pull it free. The ichor, the golden blood of the gods, pours out of him like molten metal, and the great bronze giant crashes to the ground, lifeless. You have survived again, but the cost of your quest keeps rising, paid each time by Medea's dark and terrible power. You finally sail back into the harbor of Iolcus. The journey is over. The golden fleece, draped over the prow of the Argo, glitters under the Greek sun, a beacon of your impossible success. The city turns out to greet you, their faces a mixture of awe and disbelief. You did it. You actually did it. You march to the palace, your remaining Argonauts at your back, and you throw the fleece at the feet of your uncle Peleus. The old king's face turns pale. He stares at the divine treasure, then at you, the one-sandaled man who was supposed to die. He's trapped. He has no choice but to honor his promise, or so you think. But Peleus is a master of delay tactics. He praises you, throws you a feast, but he doesn't abdicate. He makes excuses. The transition needs to be handled carefully. The people need to be prepared. It's clear he's never going to give up the throne willingly. You've come all this way, faced down death a dozen times, only to be thwarted by political red tape. Medea, watching your frustration grow, decides to take matters into her own capable and terrifying hands. She approaches Peleus's daughters with a proposition. She tells them she has the power to restore youth, and to prove it, she performs a little magic show. She takes an old, grizzled ram, cuts it into pieces, and boils it in a cauldron with a mix of secret herbs. A moment later, a frisky young lamb leaps out of the pot. The daughters are amazed. They love their father and want to see him young and vital again. Medea, with a sympathetic smile, tells them they can perform the same ritual for him. She gives them the list of herbs, walks them through the process, and then leaves them to it. That night, filled with love and good intentions, they sneak into their father's chamber, kill him, and chop him into pieces for the pot. But in her instructions, Medea conveniently left out the most crucial magical ingredient. The daughters boil their own father into a gruesome stew, waiting for a younger version to emerge, but nothing happens. They have been tricked into committing patricide in the most horrific way imaginable. It's a truly diabolical solution to your political problem, but Medea's plan backfires spectacularly. The murder is so ghastly, so unnatural, that the people of Iolcus are revolted. Instead of crowning you king, they drive you and your sorceress wife out of the city in disgust. You have the fleece, but you've lost the kingdom. Your victory is utterly hollow. You are an exile. You and Medea flee to Corinth, where you live for about a decade and have 2 sons. For a while, things are almost normal. But you're still Jason, the hero who captured the Golden Fleece. You crave status, power, a kingdom to call your own. You see an opportunity in Creon, the king of Corinth. He offers you the hand of his daughter, the Princess Gloss, a new wife, a new royal line, a secure future. All you have to do is set Medea aside. You tell yourself it's a practical decision, a political necessity. You break the unbreakable oath you swore to her by the gods, the very oath that was the price for her magic, your success, your life. This is your final, fatal mistake. The love that Medea felt for you, the divine, all-consuming passion that made her betray her family and country, curdles into a hatred of equal intensity. Her revenge is the stuff of legend, a mainstream mythological fact immortalized by the playwright. She sends a wedding gift to your new bride, a beautiful, delicate gown and a golden coronet. When Gloss puts them on, They burst into magical, corrosive flames, consuming her and her father who rushes to save her. But her revenge on you isn't complete. To destroy you utterly, to leave you with nothing, she commits her final, most devastating act. She kills the 2 sons she had with you. She escapes in a chariot pulled by sun dragons, leaving you a broken man in the ashes of your life. You have no wife, no children, no kingdom, no honor. You become a wanderer, a bitter old man, haunted by the ghosts of your past. Scholars still argue about what Jason's legacy truly represents. Is it a story of heroism, or a cautionary tale about ambition and the consequences of using people? Years later, you find yourself back at the port where your glorious ship now rots on the beach, a forgotten monument. As our obscure final tidbit, you sit beneath its decaying prow, seeking shade, lost in memories of your one great achievement. A gust of wind shakes the ancient, weathered timbers, and a heavy piece of the magical prow breaks loose, falling directly on your head and killing you instantly. You are crushed by the very vessel that brought you to glory. A lonely, pathetic, and deeply ironic end for the great captain of the Argonaut. The story of Jason, which began with such heroic promise, thus fades into a quiet tragedy. A slow and somber lesson on the nature of glory and the debts we incur to achieve it. His name is remembered, but often with a shake of the head. A whisper about a man who gained the whole world but lost his soul, and in the end, was left with nothing at all, not even a hero's death. The fleece hangs in a temple, a silent, golden testament to a journey that destroyed everyone it touched.